Hello everyone. This is not a story for the faint of heart. Today, we will be stepping into the darkness of the most gruesome cases, where evil not only exists, but also leaves bloody and haunting traces. This is Real Gruesome Murder Cases, a series of true stories about murders that made the whole world shudder. If you are ready to face the cold truth in the gruesome corners of humanity, come with me to delve deeper into each case. You have no idea what you are getting into. I am no saint, but no one really is. Some people are less evil. Some people are more evil. I have done things I am not proud of, and will have to live with the consequences once they come. I do, however, refuse to feel guilt for what I have done. There are reasons behind my actions, and no one will convince me they are not for the greater good. I am writing here in my diary to be able to get it off my chest, as I cannot speak to anyone about it. I wish I could scream it from the top of my lungs, but I can't. If the secret comes out, it probably will be huge. The local media are already talking about it, and when they catch whoever did it, it will be loud. In my mind, I am a hero, but in people's eyes, I will not be. If anyone is reading this, probably after I have been caught, know this: I refuse to feel bad about it. I meant what I did every time. My heart is pounding with excitement, but I close my notebook and rest my head on the wall behind me. I've been doing my assignments for over a year already, but even thinking about them makes my heart race. It gives me rush, flushes my cheeks, and keeps me motivated to keep going. I love everything about it. I look at the time on my watch and get off the bed. Time for my double shift at the bar. I put on one of my tightest blouses with low cleavage, comfortable jeans, and tie my hair in half up, half down style. Touch of lipstick, mascara, shoes, and I am ready to go. As I walk out of the house, I feel the cold breeze tickle my skin, and I shiver. I hate cold. As fast as I can, I lock the door and rush to the car. When I arrive at the bar, there are quite a few customers in already, even though it is only 5 p.m. I drop my bag off at my locker and wash my hands before I walk out to the main room. The music isn't very loud yet, thankfully. The outside daylight is still shining through, ruining the night out vibe, and people are divided between drinking coffees or beers. No spirits in their hands just yet. I make small talk with the colleague I'm taking over from before they leave, and I make my way to the right side of the bar to check if all fruits and garnishes are restocked and ready for the night. For those who never worked at a bar, they never are after a day shift. I slice lemons and oranges, moving onto the limes, when I hear the sound of a metal knocking gently on the polished wooden bar. I look up and immediately smile. My partner in crime is here. She is the most gorgeous woman I have ever met. Has long, curly black hair, bright blue eyes, and a smile I could not stop thinking about. I pour her a whiskey on the rocks, and without a word, let her casually look around for the first 10 minutes. "Is your cockroach here already?" I ask, and she shakes her head. "I don't expect him here so early," she replies with a soft sight. "Besides, I wanted to give you some attention before I see him." I smile and roll my eyes. "Lizzie, keep your flirting skills for the boys. I know what a sneaky little snake you are." She laughs at my joke, but doesn't reply. "How did you meet this one?" She grabs her glass and swirls it around, watching the almost melted ice cubes float in circles. "I accidentally bumped into him at the grocery store, very conveniently wearing one of my cutest dresses. We have been chatting on my fake phone for a week now. And he is definitely the one that did it?" I almost whisper, leaning closer towards her face. "Yes, Polly. did do all of those unspeakable things to that girl a year ago. She whispers back, and I can smell the whiskey coming from her breath. Then his rich daddy hired a lawyer, paid off some of the important people, and the cockroach is enjoying his life. She puts the glass down and straightens back in her chair. Not for long, though. We make small talk as the time goes, in between me serving customers until about 6 p.m. when the cockroach walks in. He is a tall man with brown, messy hair, sharp jawline, and dressed nicely in some expensive clothes. I can't tell you what brand they are because I know nothing about it, but the way he wears them with cockiness, I can tell he spent money. His dad's money, I remind myself, and continue wiping the already clean bar, trying to make myself look busy. Liz gets up from her chair, greets him with a kiss on the cheek, and sits back down in front of me. They order a round of drinks, and she starts to work her magic. They spend hours on chatting and laughing, although I know Liz is faking it. She always does. When the clock strikes 9 p.m. and her date is pretty tipsy, they order the next round of drinks. I make them and turn my back to the camera to grab the lemon off the cutting board, put the pill between it and my finger, and I drop it in his drink. When he starts talking incoherently, Liz grabs his arm and quietly walks him out of the bar. I wait a few minutes before I ask my colleague to look after the bar as I need a quick break and leave as well. I find them in a back alley, the cockroach sitting sloppily on the floor, resting his back and head on the wall, and Liz standing above him, looking at her phone. As soon as I walk up to them, she looks up. I spoke to his victim. The girl was still so upset about what happened. She whispers, with anger in her eyes, "This piece of... He took something away from her she will never get back. He deserves what is coming his way." I don't reply, but nod in agreement. I look at the guy's face and feel disgusted that he not only felt it was okay to do what he did, but also decided consequences are not for him to handle. My stomach feels tight, something heavy like rocks growing inside it. I am not sure if it is from nerves, stress, disgust, or excitement from what is coming. It is Liz's time to deal with the man, and I need to get back to work soon enough. I help her tie his hands and feet, put him in the boot of the rented car, and turn to Liz. He should have admitted and faced the punishment, I hear Liz say as she slowly walks towards the driver's door. She isn't looking at me, and I am not sure if she is talking to herself or me. He is a gross, creepy cockroach who has done something horrible and he needs to pay. The smug smile he had on his face when the case was dismissed, knowing he got away with it. I see her shake her head in the streetlight falling on her from above. Well, he didn't. They don't anymore. I whisper back and walk into the bar. HIM. I can feel the headache getting worse as the shouts don't end. Mr. Robertson came to report his son's missing, but ever since we took all the information and said we will look into it, he has been shouting at various officers. He wanted the whole station up at this moment and searching for his son. We tried explaining to him that we will not be able to find him within the next hour, so when he kept shouting, we threw him out, threatening him with a ticket. I spin around in my chair to look at the cork board again, but feel hopeless. Missing men keep being added to it, but no more clues have been discovered. I feel like a complete idiot. Ryder Robertson's picture have now been added to the right side of the board, alongside Henry's, Lewis's, Christian's, and Jake's. All of these men, various ages, occupations, and lives, have been missing, and it was my job to find them. I hear someone walking up to my desk, and I turn to see my partner Jesse. "I could put an egg on your head and would be able to fry it within a minute," he says and smiles at his joke, but I don't smile back. I am too tense. Hey, I know it is hard, but with a new victim, there is a possibility for potential clues. I nod without saying anything and turn back to the board. Maybe walk me through what connects these men. Sometimes speaking things out loud helps to see things that could have been missed. I sigh but agree, for the sake of not having any other ideas. Henry, aged 54, went missing in April 2023. In February 2023, he was found not guilty for domestic violence on his wife. Lewis, aged 22, missing in July 2023. There was an old report to the police about attacking his ex-girlfriend, but she came back to retract the report, saying they just argued and she was okay. Chris went missing only a week after Lewis. They are the same age. I don't, however, have anything that links him to the rest of the guys, so maybe he is not part of it. Jake, aged 32, went missing in December 2023, only 3 months after his lawyer argued that 5 women that came forward from his company about inappropriate behavior towards them were unstable emotionally and had a vendetta against him. So the case was dismissed. And now, we have Ryder, who a year ago assaulted a girl, but somehow the DNA samples the doctors collected disappeared right before the trial. All of them had been seen with a woman at a bar the night before they went missing. So, the only thing that connects these men are vile actions against women. What if the women did it? I laugh and roll my eyes. Yes, because the experienced detective didn't think of that. I will check with the girl from Ryder's case, but all others have rock-stone alibis. I pinch the bridge of my nose with my fingers and rub it, trying to get rid of the headache. Soon enough, this case will be assigned to someone else, since I can't seem to get any leads. And this would be an absolute nightmare for a young, ambitious detective like me. I needed to get at least something to keep me going. I think you need a drink, Jesse says, and I look at him from under my eyebrows. When we're done tonight, we are going out. And, he says quickly, raising his finger to stop me from interrupting. I will not take no for an answer. So here I am now, at the bar, sipping my beer and listening to Jesse vent about the argument with his girlfriend. I politely nod, but only listen to every third word, because the focus is escaping me too quickly. I love him like a brother, but help me God with how much he talks. I look around the bar, trying to look casual, but the moment my eyes land on her, there is nothing casual about me. She walks in with her long strawberry blonde hair, gorgeous black dress, and boots heeled so high, I am surprised she isn't falling every second step. But she has this confident aura about her. She has her head held high like she owns this bar, and I am mesmerized. Jesse notices that because he stops talking and nudges me with his elbow. Go, speak to her, he says with a smirk. Undust your flirting techniques, wipe the cobwebs, and go. And so I do. I get up, still holding my drink, and sit down next to her at the bar. Do you mind if I sit next to you? I ask, and she turns, looking at me with big brown eyes. She smiles. Of course not. She answers softly. My name is Polly. Alex, I say, and shake her hand. Let me buy you a drink, Polly, if that's okay. A fatal prank check. The day started off like any other April Fool's Day. Minor pranks, like taping the bottom of the faucet and letting all the water squirt up at the person's face and clothes. Unplugging the copy machine so others can think it doesn't work. And they have to handwrite it. Sticky, noting a random person's cubicle, and placing an upside-down cup that says, "Don't move this cup unless you're going to kill it," on someone's desk who's scared of insects. But come to find out, there isn't anything under it. There are much more pranks that happen at our company's office. It was just a matter of time until someone took it overboard. That someone wasn't just a someone. We were all included. Tommy Miller was just the poor guy who had it done to him. We all swore that day. We swore that we wouldn't tell, that no one will find out what happened. I knew all things. Or did I get it all wrong? After all the pranks were over, everyone was at the edge of their feet, hoping that all the pranks were completed. Little by little, an untouched prank would make its way through. But it was fading, and everyone could work at peace. Our boss, David Klon, never liked attending work on April Fools. He stopped coming after one of his employees, Saran, wrapped his whole office. When I mean the whole office, by the time he cut through the layers of Saran on his door, which took hours, he walked into a room and office equipment covered in layers of fine plastic. It was honestly the cherry on top to past pranks, stealing his coffee machine and his backup, removing his fridge away from his room, and potentially removing all his furniture. These were great boss pranks, and I'm surprised no one got caught or fired. The day was almost ending, and daytime shifters were exiting the building. It didn't matter, because the daytime shifters consisted of 4 to 5 workers. The main workers of 6 to 10 workers were us, the all-time shifters. It consisted of Matt Donovan, Sophie Mari, Carson T., Maddie Malone, Evan Tyson, Mickey L., Victoria Stallion, Tommy Miller, and I, Francis D'Angelo. We were all somewhat close, definitely in age, but somewhat in communication. The only person who stayed to themselves was Tommy. He was the quiet businessman type, focused on his own work and prioritizes. He thought the office pranks were stupid, although he didn't directly say that. He had a short comb-over cut, his brown hair nicely gelled off to the right of his head. He wore suits, the nice kind. He arrived early to work, never arrived late in his life, I suppose. Matt Donovan stood up from his cubicle and gathered everyone who was left in the office, except for Tommy. We all gathered up in my cubicle because I was the last one to be gathered up. "What's going on?" I questioned, knowing something was up. Matt replied quickly, "We're going out, having fun tonight. We all know we're the brilliant masterminds that are behind all the crazy pranks." He was wrong, at least this time. I had nothing to do with any pranks this year. I ran out of things to do, and although that that seems awful. Me, Francis D'Angelo, pranking innocent co-workers of mine. I know, but it's fun and a one-time, each year type of thing. So, that's all? You want us to all go out? Like to the bar? Victoria asked. What I think Matt is trying to say is that he wants us to go out so we can turn up and congratulate ourselves for being awesome pranksters, Carson said. He was always the goofy one. That's not what I meant. I do think we should celebrate another year of great pranks, but not yet. I think we should all do one final prank, Matt said suspiciously. He made my spine tremble when he talked like that. Okay, Matt. April Fool's is practically over. What is the big prank about, anyway? I wanted to know, too. Just as much as Evan did. Well, my dear Evan, we're going to prank Tom Miller. What? I couldn't believe it. Why Tommy? He was, I don't know. He was just different. Pranking him tonight was stupid. Matt, that's stupid. Keep your voice down, Francis. You don't have to be a part of it. We won't exactly need you anyways. And what is that supposed to mean, Matt? I'm totally in. My blood was boiling. How can Matt say that after that fact, I helped him last year prank his mom? Okay, good. Mickey, Maddie, and Sophie, you guys in? Sure, whatever. Yeah, fine. Okay, here's the plan. We all huddled into each other, listening to Matt's prank. Even though this prank was a little too serious, we all thought it was a nutty idea. It was interesting, and it seemed funny. I also couldn't back down from it. I just couldn't. Hey, Tommy, we're all going out for some pizza and beer. Want to join us? Tommy rotated his chair, facing up. Why? I mean, thanks for the offer, but I think I'll have to pass. He turned back around. We knew this was going to happen. Victoria makes her way to Tommy. She places her soft hands on his shoulders. Oh, please, Tommy. She massages his shoulders. I think you should hang with us. You're always so. She stoops down to his ear. Tense. She removes her touch from him and walks toward us. She is absolutely astonishing. Tommy spins back again to face us. We wait a little while for the answer that we've been waiting for. Okay. I suppose one night of hanging out won't hurt. Plan A. Flirtatious. Victoria. Check. Plan B. Complimenting. Matt in progress. That's a sport, Tommy. I always knew you had in ya. You got the looks, dude. All you need is the bad attitude, and you're all set, my guy. We could all tell Tommy was flattered. Plan B was another check, getting Tommy to like us. Let's take some shots before we hit the road, Ivan yelled. We all walked to the office's lounge. As soon as we walked in, Ivan and Matt hunched over a barrel-looking thing. They pulled out 2 bottles of vodka. I could tell Victoria was excited, but the rest looked somewhat confused on how they even snuck that in here. Of course, We aren't going to drink all of it, but a shot or two will do. I'll get the solo cups. Tommy hesitates to walk into the lounge, but Sophie walks to him and grabs his arm. You're first, hot stuff. No. I think I'm good. I don't think you guys should even have those in this building, due to how unprofessional that is. And also because we're going to be driving in cars. Last time I checked, drunk driving is illegal. Oh, please, Tommy, don't ruin this for us, dude. Evan poured some vodka into each of the 9 cups. We all took one, even Tommy. We all pushed him into doing so. He had to, so he could overcome what was going to happen next. Afterward, we walked to the coat rack and grabbed our stuff. We all walked out together, without Tommy. We let him catch up with us at the parking lot for future purposes. We all gathered around our cars. Luckily, Sophie and Even caught a ride with Matt today. Less cars to ride in equals less suspicion. Ugh, there you guys are. You guys walk mighty fast. I'm guessing you can't wait to party. Tommy laughs with a tone that sounds humorless. We went along with it, so we can spark up the mood. Ha ha ha. You're so funny, Tommy. We all cried in unison. So, Tommy, I don't see your car anywhere. Did you catch a ride with someone today? I just realized that Tommy's station wagon wasn't parked anywhere around. That was weird. Oh yeah, I took the bus. My old thing is in mechanics. She's beautiful, but losing her touch, I suppose. Mind if I catch a ride with one of you guys? Not at all, Tommy. Not at all. Matt's voice sounded too enthusiastic. He nodded to Ivan. Come on, Tommy. You're riding with me. Evan had a nice, wide smile across his face. Plan C. Dump him in progress. It was go time. Sophie and Victoria walked to Tommy's side. We're riding with you and Ivan. This is gonna be a fun ride. Even in the shallow night. I can tell. Tommy's face got a little red. Ivan popped the trunk of his Audi open. Carson walked to Ivan's car and held the trunk open for him. Thanks, dude. This car is a piece of crap. The stupid trunk door can't even stay open by itself. Hey, Tommy, you can place your stuff in the trunk. It won't fit in the back seat. Sorry. Tommy walks to the trunk and starts placing his stuff in the trunk. Before you do that, Tommy, I have to move some stuff around to make room. May I use your flashlight on your phone to see? Yeah, sure. Tommy hands Evan his phone. Evan turns the flashlight on and pretends to make space in the back of his trunk. Maddie and I go into Matt's car. We peeked out the window to see what was happening. Sophie and Victoria also go into Ivan's car. They couldn't see anything because of the trunk's door. Mickey and Matt slowly walk towards Ivan, Carson, and Tommy. Everything okay? Jeez, you guys take mighty long. What's going on? Ivan talks. Tommy, you can place your stuff in now. Tommy did as Ivan said. We're just trying go time. Mickey and Matt shove Tommy into the trunk. Mickey pins Tommy down, and Evan removes a roll of duct tape from his pocket. Ivan tucks Tommy's phone into Matt's pocket, rips a chunk of tape with his teeth, and smacks it onto Tommy's mouth. Happy April Fool's Day, Tommy. You gotta live a little. Matt waves to Tommy. Carson slams the trunk door shut and enters into a separate car with Mickey. Plan C. Dump him. Check. On to Plan D. Plan D. Car ride around town in progress. We all drove in separate cars. We drove in random directions. When we drove around other cars, we intentionally stayed back a few cars. We were just going to drive a little, then stop at Mamma Mia's Pizzeria. We drove for an hour and 35 minutes. I just stared out the window, wondering how the others were doing, wondering how Tommy was doing. I wondered if he was confused or scared. Maybe he was just enjoying this wild adventure or sleeping. I can't wait to see the look on his face when he realizes that today might just be the best day of his entire life. Ivan's car. I got my hands up. They're playing my song. They know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it's a party in the USA. Yeah, it's a party in the USA. Sophie and Victoria sang. You girls having fun? Definitely, Ivan, Sophie shouted. I can't wait to get wasted, Victoria proclaimed. Hey, Tommy, you having fun in there? This is a wild ride for you, Tommy. This is the best day of your freaking life, dude. If you aren't having a great time, well, screw you. Ivan laughed and yelled. Songs kept playing, and the singing kept going until they arrived at Mamma Mia's Pizzeria. Mickey's car. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mickey. Carson wailed. Shut up, moron. You're such a goof. By the way, my name isn't the name in the song. Dummy. Whatever. I was just being silly. It was funny. You have to admit. Yeah, sure. They look at each other and start laughing tears. How do you think Tommy's doing? He should be fine. I mean, come on, that was a funny prank. Did you see the look on his face? Ah, speechless. That was a fun time. I sort of feel bad for the guy. He had no clue what was happening. He had it coming. Besides, it's just a prank, Carson. Matt even said it himself. Matt's car. I continue to stare out the window. The cars wisp by as Matt drives past every light and building. My lap vibrates, and I pick up my phone. The screen light glares on my face as I read the text that I've received. Maddie, don't you think it's a bit weird? We're the only two that haven't helped in this whole prank. I haven't thought about that, really. Me, well, Matt did say, regardless of me attending this prank, he doesn't need me. I don't know what the excuse for you is, though. I'm sure he'll give us something to do. The thought of Matt not needing me made me upset. Maddie, I felt, had a point. Why hadn't I gotten a role yet? Maddie, I guess you're right, but something seems off. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure I don't want to find out. Matt glances over his seat and smiles at both Maddie and I. You girls sitting nice and tight back there? Just fine. Thank you, Maddie says, sounding a bit sarcastic. Yup, just starving. I really am hungry. Well, I just so happened to bring along the vodka. Care for another shot or two? Yeah, why not? Matt expands his arm while peeking his eye on the road to reach the bottle of vodka beneath the glove compartment. He hands the bottle over. I twist the cap and waterfall a big gulp of the bitter alcohol into my mouth. I offer some to Maddie, but reluctantly, she refuses. After a while, my head starts to spin, and the passing of cars begins to turn a little blurry. Car motion and the beginning of becoming drunk aren't a good mix. Occasionally, I would gargle a couple strands of vodka into my mouth. It made me almost forget why I'm in this car in the first place. Plan D. Car ride around town. Check. Secret plan. Plan E. Unload in progress. Mamma Mia's Pizzeria parking lot. I'm sleeping in the back seat while Maddie gently shakes me to wake up. I just moan, giving the hint to leave me alone. Maddie gets out of the car with Matt and joins the others. As everyone heads inside, Tommy and I are left alone in separate cars. By this time, the bottle of vodka is completely empty, and I don't even remember me finishing the last gulp. I lie back with my eyelids feeling extremely heavy. Everything around me was a bit muffled. I felt prickles all over my body. Do you have Maddie? Yes. Do I? Yes. Now. It's all set. Let's go. Maddie? Matt? What were you guys talking about? Their voices were in and out. I feel very dizzy. The whole night felt dark. There I was, gone. I was always just gone. Looking out, but looking inside now. I guess the whole time, I sort of knew. I just didn't want to admit it. Secret plan. Plan E. Unload. Check. No one would suspect a thing when they find us. I mean, in the beginning, I just thought it was a silly prank. But I didn't realize I wasn't a part of it all. Just the fact that Tommy and I were the prank. When we both didn't wake up. Tommy being dead, and I being intoxicated and drugged. I didn't know. We both didn't know. And that's the sad part. Chad. Autopsy. Tommy Miller. Age 24. Male. Brown hair and eyes. Location of death. In the woods. Time of discovery. Saturday morning. 7:30 a.m. Inward body. Consumption of alcohol. Lungs collapsed. Difficulty breathing. Vomit in the esophagus. Outward body. Pale skin. Red under eyes. Eyes opened. Half naked. Possibility of the cause of death. Choked on vomit. Failure to breathe. Francis D'Angelo. Age 22. Female. Blonde hair and green eyes. Location of death. In the woods. Time of discovery. Saturday morning. 7:30 a.m. Inward body. Consumption of alcohol. Multiple drug consumption. Outward body. Pale skin. Needle markings. Bloodshot eyes. Eyes opened. Half naked. Possibility of the cause of death. Intoxication. And everything was planned ahead of time. Maybe a month before April Fools. Everyone who I thought were my friends, co-workers, had everything planned. All evidence was hidden, and everything was perfectly placed. Everything was supposed to be a silly prank, but it turned out to be a prank terribly wrong. Justice. In a whiskey. March 21st, 1957. There is blood on the bed. His stomach ripped open. His left eye mutilated. And the side table is lying near the door frame. His wife is bawling her eyes out. And there is a half-empty bottle of whiskey under the bed. The cut on his body shows that he was attacked by a knife, and the incision is so clean, almost as if the murderer is an anatomy genius. The mouth of the body is gaping open, and his neck has purple splotches. My friend, who is an investigator, clicks photos from all angles. With each flash of the camera, I see a clue unfolding beside me. Officer Barn rushes towards me, his eyes speaking of a strange fear. He clasps my shoulder, urging me to come out of the room. I march out and stand near the doorframe, my eyes speaking instead of my tongue. "What's the matter, Barn?" I ask him, trying to hide the expression on my face. "We need to hurry. This case is a very high profile." He coughs up, interrupting himself. He's not an ordinary person. He is the son of a famous business tycoon. This case is no longer a government record. It's a public scandal. He huffs at the end. "I know he is the son of Mr. Edward, owner of the steel factory, but we cannot hurry it up, leaving clues to the rats." I breathe in with ease. We cannot delay it either. Mr. Barnes speaks up. "We need to fasten our belts and rush our brains before it goes out into the hands of the media." I nod my head and once again enter the room, observing each minute detail. I see a leaflet in the vase of flowers. I ask my assistant for gloves. I wear them and take the leaflet carefully from the flowers. It's a prescription. The ink is fading away in the water, but the logo on the paper is smudged, yet noticeable. "Sir, you can hand it over," the forensic officer says, pointing out to a plastic bag in his hands. I take the plastic bag from him and carefully put the leaflet in it. I fold the upper corner of the bag and place it on the left side of my coat pocket. "Sir, the evidence belongs in our department. I beg your pardon, but you have to hand it over to us." The forensic officer pleads with his eyes and places out his arm. "Even I have a small lab at my home. I would love to personally investigate in my space." I boldly put my statement forward. "I wish you could do that, sir." But since the case is high profile, we have to follow all the orders from our seniors and judiciary. I can't help you this time. I would love your cooperation more. I sign in defeat and take the bag from my right side of my coat and place it in his hand. He bows his head in respect and leaves the place. I go into the drawing room where the wife of the victim is present. She has a lilac handkerchief in her hands and is wearing a black dress. Her eyes are red due to the constant crying, and her cheeks are soaked in due to her tears. She's surrounded by her neighbors and friends. I tell them to depart soon, to push my investigation forward. Everybody leaves, and Catherine gathers herself, aligning her back with her body. I sit a few inches apart from her, observing her delicate little hands, which no longer has the burden of the band. Miss Catherine, sorry for your loss. I know the departure of your husband is so unexpected, and I could understand your sorrow. She sobbed a little and quivered her lips. I hope my husband gets justice, sir. That's all I want. I want the culprit dead. Her eyes blazing with anger and deep sorrow. I take her hand in mine and say to her with a coy smile, that will soon happen. I promise you. I could feel the coldness of the plastic in our hands. A week before, I could not take my eyes away from the bruise, which was on Catherine's left elbow. The wound itself is telling the backstory of its origin. She lifts my chin, directing my eyes towards her. Her hands were cold, and her little finger was swollen. Her eyes were dull, with no light or joy. You called me here for something? She questions me with disgrace and disregard. Yeah, so I am going to dive in for cooking. You know, learning a few basic skills and recipes. I laugh at my lie and take out the tray of knives. Sochon, what are you starting with? Her voice is cold like ice, and her eyes tired. She has a small brown patch near her eyelid, hinting at her life. I immediately try to distract myself from the bruise by balling my fists and digging my fingernails into my palms. I think with the stomach, cleaning and cutting will be far easier from here, I say, pointing out to the featherless chicken on the table. That's interesting. So, what help do you need from me? Catherine asks me. Well, I don't know about the cleaning and cutting. Like, see this butler's knives? It's too big for the work. We don't need this, but this. I point out to the medium-sized scalpel with a sharp edge. I think this will do. Precision cut and less mess. She nods her head, and a slow smile rises across her square face. Even I think so. I loved the way she smiled, always. By the way, have you read the 10th chapter of Volume 1 of Anatomy? I ask her, with my eyes focused on the scalpel. 3 weeks earlier. I always flunked chemistry. Thanks to you, otherwise I would be a technician in a hospital. I pass a gentle smile to Catherine. I don't know about the academics' chemistry, but your reaction with women was always volatile. She taunts with me, her gentle smile. Not all, only with one. But that reaction became highly toxic for everybody. Hearing my sharp words, her smile disappeared. I hate for causing an explosion in that research. If I had focused on one chemical, then my life would not have been so volatile. Her voice sounded disapproved. I miss my compound too. I sigh with disbelief. She turns away from her face and wipes her tears. I know it's so tough for her to gather the courage daily and to chalk out the plan. I try to lighten the mood surrounding us. The movie makers are so hypocrites, I shout. What? She turns around, but does not see me in the eye. They always show that when you place the chloroform on someone's face, the person instantly passes out. But it's not true. A person at least requires 15 minutes of continuous exposure for passing out to its fullest. Movies are for entertainment, not for knowledge, we say in unison. Out-timing makes me laugh, and she laughs seeing me laugh. By the way, Catherine, I want to say you an amazing fact. Do you know, whiskey and chloroform have the same taste? She finally sees me in the eye and smiles. Now I know. And laughs like a small hyena. 4 weeks earlier, the church is calm, and the benches are clean. It's Monday, hence the absence of people seems relevant. I smell the candles burning and could hear the faint sobbing from the room of confession. I walk towards it and open the stall. It was empty, but the nearby stall wasn't. I rotate my head around to see anyone's presence and finally steps in. Feeling the presence of my space, the sobbing discontinued. It's the result of my sin. If I hadn't cheated the person who loved me the most and did not break his heart, this would have never happened. Her voice breaks down, and through the thin mesh, I could guess her marble hands wiping the tears away from her face. The result, or the outcome of your sin, depends on the Lord itself. It's you and me who have the final decision. I have forgiven you already. But what about the devotion and love you offer him? Is his response appropriate? Does raising hand on your wife courageous? I sigh in dismay. But what are we going to do? Do you think your plan is proper? She questions my intentions. The law won't help us. His hands are long, and their pockets are full with his money. It's not about how I feel. It's about the justice you need. I face her across the mesh, digging my fingernails in my palm. I won't lose you because of somebody's treatment. I choke down my tears. She stands across the mesh, placing her hand on it. I do the same. A month ago, sir, there is a woman. She is stating emergency and needs urgent observation. Will you come soon? The nurse hurried her sentences. Can you call another doctor? I have completed my hours. I pack my suitcase and turn to leave. She says it's matter of life and death, sir. The nurses exclaim. Okay, fine. Only 15 minutes. Then transfer her case to Dr. Edmund. I wipe the sweat on my forehead and put on my white coat. Sometimes the Hippocratic oath becomes the death of me. I go to the patient's cubicle. I am in no mood to observe the patient. I remove the board placed near the bed and read the symptoms taken by the nurse. Internal bleeding in the cervix, partially choked, bruises on hand and near the eyes, lower lip cut, fracture on the wrist. Miss, when did this happen? And how can we aid you? I reply bluntly. My energy is on brink of exhaustion and pushed to my limits. A pale, cold hand catches my wrist, and a humble voice reaches my ear. Just forgive me, will you? My ears recognize it. And when I see her face, the blood in my body stills. I catch her limp hand and shout, Catherine. Tears were flowing down her eyes, and her face had lost the life and sunshine she had. All she could do was clasp my hand with more force. I kiss her knuckles. I run my fingers lightly on the bruises. Seeing her in this state, my mind rattles. I clench my teeth, and tears of anger rush down my cheeks. Who did this to you? I ask her, trying to mask my anger. She gathers herself, and with the last courage within her, utters, my husband, my dad's? A killer? Hey, I'm gonna be home just a little bit late tonight. I'm running by the library, I tell Mason through the phone. Mason's my boyfriend of 5 years on Tuesday. Okay, no worries. See you when you get home. Love you, I say, and hang up. Right now, I'm taking forensic classes, and I'm totally lost. You'd think it'd be easier, but you'd be mistaken. So, I'm on my way to get a forensics for dummy book. My mom says this is the right path for me, and I should stick with it though. She says, my dad would really proud too. He was killed when I was 2. He was shot. I get out of the car and start walking into the library. This library is probably the nicest ones you could come across. It's tall and futuristic looking, completely glass, and has this huge tree in front, like the Circle of Life tree from The Lion King. That's why I call it the Lion King Library. It's special. Mrs. Darcy, the head librarian, greets me. She's a funny little thing, fierce too. What are you looking for, doll? She asks. Forensics for dummies. Could you point me to the crime section, please? Ah, right around the corner, she answers, pointing. Thank you, Mrs. Darcy, I say, and walk towards the section. When I get to the shelves, there are hundreds and hundreds of books, some talking about mass killers and other talking about the victims. I run my fingers across the spines and look at all the titles. How to stop a killer. Wonder how promising that is. Another one says, Behind the Scenes of the FBI. That sounds interesting. I grab it and knock 3 books off the shelf, and it echoes. This is embarrassing. I grab the books I knock over and reach to out them on the shelf. But one catches my eye. Is that my dad's name? Is that him? On this book? I look at the title. I'm stopped in my tracks, and I can feel the color bleeding from my face inside the mind of the Carter Brooks, the killer we all know. What? I am holding the books in my hands, and I can't stop shaking. My dad's a killer? My breathing's gone heavy, and I can feel the hit tears running down my cheeks. I didn't know this. What? I'm in shock. My dad? A killer? I look at the back, and I see more pictures of him, and I go into a complete sob. My dad was a killer, and I find out this way? From a book that I knocked off a shelf in a library in the middle of Utah? Should I look through it? I sit down with my back facing against the shelf. I open up to the first chapter, his drive. I put this down. I can't read this, but I owe it to myself, right? I pause and just stare at the book. This isn't real. It can't be. He died from a shooting. He was the victim. After 30 minutes of sitting here, flipping, and looking through the pages, I'm completely hurt. Why didn't I know any of this? I've learned he killed 20 people and was taken away from his family, us. And apparently, we meant everything to him. I need to call my mom. I get my phone and let her ring. Mom? I say. You can hear the hurt in my voice. I don't know how I'm going to tell her, but she knows. Why didn't she tell me? Honey, what happened? Mom, I'm at the library, and I found his book about Dad. I struggle getting through the sentence. She gasps. What? Why didn't you tell me? How didn't I find out? Maddie, what does the book say? I haven't read a lot of it. Mom? Yeah? I want to come over, and I want you to tell me everything. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Dinner will be ready when you get here. I hang up. My hands still haven't stopped shaking. Should I really be mad about her not telling me? The guilt and hurt I would be feeling from knowing would have ruined me. I can't be mad, but I'm upset. I'm being calm about this. I'm not blowing up, but I should have known. At least some of it. Not all the details. I called Mason and let him know that I'll be home late. I told him my mom wanted me over for her church group. I can't tell him about this right now. Ciao. I pull into her driveway and sit in my car for a second. I'm bracing myself. I'm in shock right now. I know it will hit me tomorrow and hurt more. I get and walk up to her porch. I knock 3 times. She comes to the door immediately, and she has tear-stained cheeks. We can sit at the table. Did you bring the book? She says, leading me to her table. I nod. I'm saving my breath. I pull the book out of my purse and lay it out in front of her. Her eyes get glossy again. "What do you want to know first?" she asks. How did I not find out from anyone? Not on the news, family, close friends. And why? Money. Grandma paid everyone for you not to find out. She takes my hand. You have to understand, it was for you protecting. We didn't want you living with fear or hurt constantly. Were you going to tell me? Ever? How did you think I wasn't going to find out? You were going to find out at some point. I always knew that. Hate me for this. But I didn't want to have to tell you. I thought since it was 40 years ago, you wouldn't see things like this. She says, gestures to the book. Why did he do it? He was angry. So he killed people? He was angry. So he killed people? Did he hurt you? I add. She shakes her head. No, he never laid a hand on anyone he loved. What was wrong with him? What inside him made him wanna kill someone? It can't just be anger, Mom. I mean, I'm in my first semester for forensics, but I know that can't be it. Mom, I know you know. She looks down at her plate. We haven't even started eating yet. The food's getting cold. He had multiple personalities. 2. When he was angry, it triggered his even angrier ego. He would go on killing sprees, she says through tears. This isn't easy for her. I imagine this isn't something she wants to revisit. You accepted that? Did you try to get help for him? I had to accept it. He wasn't always like that. After his dad and mom died, that's when it happened. And I did try to get him help. He wouldn't let me do it for him, not even behind his back. Did he tell you when he was doing it? Never. It was always when I would visit it, family or friends, when I was out of town. And I wanted a divorce, even though I loved him more than anyone understood. But I knew that would make things worse in his head, so it never happened. I'm not mad at you, Mom, I say, looking up at her. I think she needs to hear that. You're not? And she tilts her head a little. Because I would be. No, I'm in shock right now. Everything feels numb, and Jay didn't really know him. We weren't close. I choke on my tears. But I thought he was the victim, not the guy behind the trigger. I know. I'm impressed on how calm you're reacting. And I'm sure this will all hit differently tomorrow. But you have to understand, knowing everything will make it harder to cope with. Now that you know, I think we should save the details. I know you came here for answers. When it's time, I can dish them to you, but not in one night. That's not right to you. She says, I know she's right. If I knew everything, who knows what my mindset would be, or what I would do. Let's eat, I say, and I look up at her. I change my mind. I don't want to know all this right now. It's too heavy. We finish dinner, and we clean up the dishes. Can I leave the book here? I don't want to return it, and I don't want to read it. I ask. Yeah, sure. You can leave it on that table. She answers. Thank you for telling me all this and letting me come over in the moment. I know it must be hard to revisit all of this. Of course, you had to know at some point. I'm glad you called me, though, she says, and I grab my keys off the coffee table. Maddie, don't brush this off, though. I know you're hurt and scared. I can tell. Don't move past it as fast as you can. She adds, I won't. I love you, Mom. I have to get back to Mason. I lean over and hug her goodbye, and I hold on for a couple seconds longer. She lets go, and I walk out, carefully shutting her door behind me. I sit in my car for a second. I can't wrap my head around any of this. My dad's a killer. My dad is a killer. They're all foreign words. On my drive home, I couldn't help but just cry the whole time. I took the long way home, so Mason didn't see the tear stains, hoping they would dowry in time. Hey, how was it? Mason asks when I walk in. It was good. My mom said hi. I say, putting my stuff down. You sure? You okay, babe? He says, pulling me into him. I will be, but I don't want to talk about it tonight. Another time, I say, looking up at him. Okay, the bed's made. You can go to bed if you want. I'll stay out here and give you space. Yeah, okay. He kisses the top of my head, and I go into our room. I don't take off my clothes and change. It's too much work right now. I crawl into bed, and my phone rings. I look over, and it's my mom. Hello? Maddie? Yeah, it's me. Okay. I don't know how this tiny iPad works. Is something wrong? No. I just wanted to say good night and wish you sweet dreams. It will be a heavy night. Oh, good night, Mom. I love you. I love you. And I hang up. At the end of today, this book completely changed me. It's a new part of me now. I know things I wish I didn't. How to rob a library. Harry was ready. Harry hated books. The plan was simple. If he robbed the library, there would be no books to read. No books equals no library. Even if the library wanted to buy new books, they would have no place to put them. Phase 10 of the plan was to burn the library to the ground. The mission was ready to go. Phase 1. Knock out any guards. You will need fry pan and 2 ropes. The guards wouldn't stand a chance. There were only 2 of them anyway. What harm could they do? The answer to that was a lot of damage. The guards had been trained in the martial arts, so if you stood in their way, you were burnt toast. Good thing Harry wasn't bred, or the mission would be even more difficult. He slowly crept through the bushes, holding his fry pan in one hand and the rope in the other. Soon he saw a light getting close. A guard was coming. Piece of cake, Harry thought. This was going to be fun. Ding! The guard fell down to the floor, so he was tied to a tree. 1 down, 1 to go. Slowly, Harry crept out of the bushes and looked around. Where was the guard? Hey, you! Stop right there! called a voice from behind him. Time for real fun. Harry swung the fry pan through the air, and with a thunk, it came to rest on the guard's head. Thud. Time for Phase 2 of the plan. Phase 2. Disable the security cameras. You will need the pickaxe to be sure that no one found him out tomorrow. Harry would have to hide a lot of evidence, like knocking out the guards. All he had to do was smash all the cameras around him. There were about 20 of them scattered around the place. Number 1. Harry threw the pickaxe through the air. Bullseye. Number 2. It spotted him before he saw it, but no evidence remains now. Number 3, 4, 5, 6. Too easy. Number 7. Whoever designed this must have thought that 1-year-olds were the only criminals around. The rest were too easy to be recorded. Time for Phase 3. Phase 3. Shoot a window on the top floor of the library. You will need a gun. Harry took a deep breath. He got one shot at this. That was all. If he missed, he would have to reshoot. Then it would be more likely people had heard the shots and come to invigilate. Ready, aim, fire. Bang. Smash. The shot couldn't have been better. The window shattered instantly. Time for Phase 4. Phase 4. Climb up the library. Don't do with adult supervision. You will need a rope. Harry took a deep breath. It was time to climb. Using all of his force, he threw the rope up to the smashed window. Then he began to climb up the library. Error in the plan. It has recently rained, and the building is now very slippery. There was no safety gear added to the list. A slip will result in being in a coffin. Harry was about halfway up the 10-meter-high building when the error came into place. He tried to take another step. He slipped and fell. Luckily, he grabbed the rope just in time, so he got away with just a few scratches. So much for a library being a safe place for kids, he thought. Finally, he reached the top. It was time for Phase 5. Phase 5. Take down the librarian. The librarian will never leave. It's post, not even after hours. You will need glue and the remaining rope. Harry looked around, knowing the librarian could be anywhere, watching him. He got to work covering the floor with glue. It was going to be a sticky trap to fall into. Time to do the fun bit. Make noise. One thing you should know about librarians is they hate noise. Shh is one of their favorite words to use. So, noise would be the bait to the trap. Harry counted to 3, and then, boom. He rejected at the top of his voice. A second later, he heard footsteps coming towards him. "I'm over here!" He cried. The librarian turned around and scowled. "Come here, boy." She yielded, taking a step squelch. She soon found herself glued to the floor. Now it was time to tie her up, just for the fun of it. Time for Phase 6. Phase 6. Rob the books. You will need a sack. Harry did that immediately, so I won't record that. Phase 7. Get ready to set the fire. You will need some of the stolen goods and petrol. Fun was rising in Harry's soul. Time to get ready for the fire. He walked up to the tied librarian and grinned. Then he ripped some of the books to shreds. Then he sprinkled them all around the room. That was just the beginning. Time for the petrol. Harry ran around the room, pouring it everywhere. The librarian looked furious. That made Harry feel a sense of achievement. Phase 8. Make sure the librarian won't get killed in the fire. You won't need anything. Harry walked up to the librarian. I'm sorry, miss, but I'm going to have to throw you out the window, he said. The librarian looked furiously at him. Did you not know that a librarian never leaves its post? She screamed angrily. Oh well, thought Harry, so be it. Phase 8 has been cancelled. Phase 9. Make sure you can escape easily. You will need a safe place. Harry looked around the room. He couldn't go through the window because the rope would catch fire. He couldn't just stay here, though. He had to do something. It was then that Harry realized that there was a door to the library, so he could just escape through it. Too bad it can't be a bit dramatic, he thought. Phase 10. Light the fire. You will need the matches. Flick. Harry struck the match. Then he walked over to the petrol. Then he set the fire. He now had just 3 minutes to escape. Fire was already everywhere the eye could see. It was time for the next phase. Phase 11. Escape the library. You will need lots of luck. Without looking back at the screaming librarian, Harry raced downstairs. The fire chased him the whole way. It didn't stop until Harry wasn't out of the library. By now, the building was alight in the darkness, so the firemen and police would be here. Phase 12. Throw the sack of books in the river. You will need the sack of books. Harry raced down to the cold, dark river. It was time to get rid of the books. Without hesitation, he threw the books into the murky depths. He smiled as he watched them go. Phase 13. Act innocent. Sirens wailed as the police came to the scene. Time to do the job. Harry walked right past the police, and they didn't notice. Who would expect a kid to break into a library and murder someone anyway? For more information on how to do damage, please go to your local library, if it hasn't been burnt down, and find more of our how-to guides. The Murderous Twins. The McKellen twins felt the librarian's stinky breath brush against their nape, so they quickly slid their dirt and blood-stained hands under the table. Shut up, you two, hissed the librarian. "Sorry," said Milo McKellen, with the fakest of smiles. The librarian stomped back to his dimly lit desk, where he resumed his scribbling on a notebook. Occasionally, he raised his bald head to survey the hall like a living security camera. Martin McKellen peeked under the table. A few droplets of blood had stained his jeans, and now it would be impossible for him, or rather, his mother, if she hadn't been gone, to wash them away. They would become foolproof evidence, marked forever on his favorite pair of pants. A pale moonlight cast long shadows over the library hall, where the McKellen twins, still soaking wet from the rain, had found shelter. They had sat on one of the long benches, their hands and arms covered in dirt and blood. And now they were arguing. Their disagreement kept on drawing the attention of the librarian, who scowled at the twins and scolded them whenever they spoke a little louder. "See that corner over there?" Martin asked Milo. "Let's go talk there. He won't interrupt us." The twins tiptoed to a corner far from where the librarian sat, hoping to get more privacy. They were surrounded by books, as dusty as if no one had ever touched them except the person who had placed them there centuries prior. "So," said Milo, "what were we?" "The body," said Martin. "Yes, the body. I think we should have buried it instead of letting it sink into the lake," Martin snorted. "As if a hump of soil in the middle of the woods is something you see every day. Better than a dead woman in the trunk of her own car, if you ask me." What other options were there? I couldn't even think straight. Those damn blue lights. "Well, it's no use discussing this now," said Milo. "We got rid of her." Something hit the floor and echoed throughout the library hall. Martin peeked out. The librarian was kneeling near the bench where the twins were sitting earlier, and he was struggling to get back up. The ink from his fountain pen had bled in a large puddle onto the marble floor, and now the librarian was fumbling for a tissue to clean that mess with. Milo peeped too, and he said, "He'll be busy for a while." Martin leaned against the book-filled shelves and sighed. "We can't hide in a library forever, Milo." "I know," he said, "but we've got to at least wait for the rain to stop so that we can hop on a train and leave." "Where were you thinking?" Martin asked. Milo shrugged. "I don't know. Canada?" Suddenly, a clap of thunder boomed in the night sky outside, and the library's doors burst open. Martin looked over at the two men who had just entered the building. They were wet, just like the twins were, but they wore blue uniforms, like police officers, said Martin in a quivering whisper. "There's two of them. What do we do?" Milo whispered back. Martin shook his head. "I have no idea," he thought. He was afraid to even think at this point. "They came looking for us," said Milo. "No doubt about that. Otherwise, what would two police officers do in a library after hours?" "Hush, Milo," said Martin. "Please, Don't let us be caught. Good evening, thundered a voice. It was one of the two men. The twins cocked their ears. I'm Agent Phillips, and this is Agent Clifford. We're looking for a couple of young men, probably in their 20s, red-haired, pretty thin. The librarian did not answer, so the other police officer, Clifford, urged him. Have you seen someone with this profile by chance? Martin held his breath. He prayed the librarian didn't reveal where he and his brother were hiding. Second by second, a thick silence was filling up the atmosphere, like a cake rising in an oven. Except this oven was far too hot, and this cake was about to explode. Avoid us any trouble, Mr. Librarian, said Agent Phillips. Just tell us if you've seen them or not, and we won't bother you any longer. Martin pushed Milo back into the corner and flattened himself against the bookshelves in case their cover was about to be blown. The librarian cleared his throat and spoke. No, he said. I haven't seen them. Martin and Milo gasped as quietly as they could and peeped out from behind the bookshelves once again. The two police officers were looking at one another. Clifford's eyes became two narrow slits, two poison darts he was now aiming at the librarian. Are you sure? Said the agent. Sure, said the librarian, trying to sound more sure than he was. Very well, said Agent Phillips, nudging at Clifford. Sorry to have disturbed you. We'll leave you now. But Clifford turned and pointed at the bench where the twins were sitting earlier. Under it, there was a mess of paper tissues and ink. And, look, said Martin to his brother, the blood is gone. Milo looked down at the blood on his hands, by now dry, and then over at the bench. What blood, Martin? When I hid my hands under the table, I spilled blood everywhere, on my jeans, on the floor. Clifford's voice boomed once again. What's that over there, Mr. Librarian? Agent Phillips grabbed his colleague by his arm. Let's stop it here, Ben. He says he hasn't seen them. Clifford broke free of Philip's grip and fetched the heap of stained paper from the ground. He marched back to the librarian's desk, where the poor man was standing still, but frail, like a clay statue. Clifford unfolded one tissue and slammed it on the librarian's desk. It was stained with large blotches of blood. What about this, Mr. Librarian? Clifford scoffed. Been dabbing the floor all night long, haven't you? The librarian didn't move a muscle. He just stared at the stained tissue. These kids have slaughtered their mother, Clifford roared. For a moment, all the books in the library seemed to have teetered, like there had been a severe but rapid earth tremor. Clifford, calm down now, Agent Phillips commanded. He turned to the librarian. Tell us the truth, sir. As you can see, this is pretty urgent. The librarian slowly pointed his index finger at the corner where the twins were hiding. Milo gulped, and Martin stopped breathing altogether. The two police officers looked at one another one last time. Agent Clifford pulled out 2 pairs of handcuffs, and Phillips led the way. When they reached the darkened corner, where the twins were supposed to be hiding, though. There were only rows of shelves full of dusty tomes to welcome them. A woman of loose morals. Neha covered her head with the dupatta of her salwar kameez and wrapped it across her shoulder. She put on the oversized black sunglasses borrowed from her roommate, Kavya, who, along with the rest of the second-year students of Kasturba Medical College, was attending the first lecture of the day. Dr. Swami was one of the lenient professors, and students often got away with marking proxy attendance for their friends. As Neha checked the pen drive in her pocket for the 10th time, she prayed that Kavya would successfully mark her proxy attendance today. Her life depended on it. Leaving behind her Honda Activa parked in the hostel parking, Neha hailed an auto rickshaw 100 meters from the college gate. There could be CCTV cameras outside shops in the market where she was headed. Arriving in an auto rickshaw, dressed in a plain white salwar kameez with her head covered and most of her face obscured by the oversized sunglasses, would make her indistinguishable from the other women walking on the streets, with the auto rickshaw noisily chugging towards the market. Neha fought off a fresh wave of nausea as she recalled the threatening calls and obscene WhatsApp messages she and her friends had been receiving for the past 6 days, while the boys were being threatened with their limbs being hacked off and their eyes ripped out of the sockets. The girls were being terrorized with warnings of brutal rapes and horrifying acid attacks. The message was loud and clear. Withdraw your testimony or face the consequences. Due to fear of backlash and pressure from their families, 10 out of the 12 students had already withdrawn their testimonies, including the boys and girls who had been hospitalized. After all, the right-wing organization they were up against had strong political affiliations and big muscle. In the past few years, the organization members had been accused of vandalism, ransacking, and violence against minorities. But unfortunately, there had been no convictions. The Mangalore city air was heavy with humidity. But Neha felt a fresh chill sweep through her body as she imagined the repercussions for herself and her family. If the organization found it was she who provided the incriminating evidence, her fear was swiftly replaced by sorrow as she recalled the phone conversation with her family 2 days after the incident. I have already spoken to Mathur. Your testimony has been withdrawn, Neha's father had said on the phone. Mr. Mathur was the police commissioner of Mangalore City and an old friend of Neha's father. But Papa, how could you do that? I've been urging all my friends to testify. How can I back out? You will do as you're told. As it is, you've brought shame upon the family. I have brought shame upon the family. A heavy silence had settled on the phone line. Neha could hear her mother admonishing her father in the background. Beta, we care about you. We don't want you to get hurt. Her mother's voice was taut with anxiety. But I'm already hurt, Ma. I'm hurt, and you're asking me to let them go scot-free so that they can keep doing this over and over again. Another pause. Beta, your father has invested a lot of money in your education. You know how much a medical degree costs. I know, Ma, but do not spoil your future. One day, you will get married. Who will marry you knowing that you were involved in this incident? It was the only time in the 19 years of her life that a swear word escaped Neha's lips in front of her parents. Horrified, her mother had returned the phone to her father. If you do not do as you're told, we'll bring you home and get you married. It's your decision. The line had gone dead. Neha retrieved her mobile from her pocket and dialed Karen's number. No response. Again. With a pang of horror, Neha wondered if he had blocked her. I just want to know you're okay, she typed. Call me, please. Neha replaced the phone in her pocket, bracing herself for the next step. The auto rickshaw had reached its destination. Up ahead, Neha could see Ramu's internet cafe, the seedy corner shop at the end of the crowded market. As Neha clutched the pen drive in her pocket and headed towards the internet cafe, all she could hear was the sound of her pounding heart. 6 days ago, never have I ever, paused Raj, the lanky second-year student of Kasturba Medical College, had 2 girlfriends or boyfriends at the same time, as 4 boys and 2 girls brought their glasses to their lips for a drink. Neha sighed. This game was turning out to be duller than she'd imagined. It was either that, or she'd led a pretty boring life up to now, because her drink lay untouched on the table. Neha had never kissed in public. In fact, never kissed at all. Never smoked a cigarette. Never flunked an exam. Never cheated on a test. Never smoked a joint. Never sang or danced in public. Never traveled to a foreign country. Heck, this was the farthest she'd been from her home in New Delhi. So yes, her life had been pretty uneventful. Neha's eyes were drawn again to Karan, sitting across the round table. The colored disco lights from the dance floor brightening his face in all sorts of delightful ways. She wondered what he thought of her, or whether he thought of her at all. He seemed to prefer her company to anyone else's in college, and he often blushed in a childlike, innocent way whenever she caught him staring at her. But did he love her the way she loved him? 2 waiters appeared at their table, carrying plates of steaming paneer tikka, juicy chicken tikka, and colorful vegetable platters. The 12 hungry teenagers devoured the food within minutes and ordered another round of snacks. The game resumed with Priya, a portly girl with a shrill voice declaring, "Never have I ever been in love." Sounds faded and sights blurred as Neha's universe shrunk to the space between Karen's eyes. Those gorgeous brown eyes that were looking right at her and conveying feelings that neither of them had been able to express. As though mirroring each other's actions, Neha and Karan lifted their glasses, and sipped their drinks, all the while looking at each other, finishing his drink in a single gulp. Karan excused himself and went towards the exit of the pub. Taking a cue, Neha followed him outside, passing by a group of 30-something-year-olds with children's birthday caps balanced precariously on their heads, gyrating to Badshah's Abi to party Shuru Hui Hai. The party has just begun. On the dance floor, Neha found Karan in the parking outside, leaning against his Maruti Swift, a lit cigarette in his hand. "All okay?" she asked, approaching him. "All good," he said, smiling. "So, are you enjoying your first party?" It was a running joke among her classmates that how Neha Kapoor, the supreme nerd, had artfully avoided all parties in the first year of college and focused solely on her studies, while the rest of her classmates had spent every weekend in a drunken stupor. "It's not so bad," she said. Karan chuckled. "It won't kill you to admit you're having a blast." The 3 drinks she'd had before they started playing the awful game dominated her senses. Neha wondered whether his lips had always been so full and red and juicy looking, or had she been blind the entire last year. Neha felt his hand on her arm, the pressure maddeningly exciting. His face was tantalizingly close to hers, and she could smell the cigarette on his breath. Wait a minute. Was he pushing her away? "You're drunk. Let's get you something to eat, shall we?" His voice seemed to be coming from faced away, and as Neha followed him inside, she realized with a pang of mortification that she'd just tried to kiss him, and he'd pushed her away. Neha cursed silently as she took her seat at the table, avoiding looking in the direction she'd been looking all evening. She nudged her friend Kavya sitting next to her. "Meet me in the bathroom," she whispered. Kavya peered at her friend in the semi-darkness of the pub. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, I just need to talk." Taking extreme care to look anywhere but at him, Neha ambled towards the bathroom, wishing she could disappear. She pushed open the door with the Queen of Hearts sign hanging on it and entered the empty ladies' bathroom. Roughly, she splashed some water on her face and gaped at her reflection in the mirror. 3 drinks, and she'd transformed into a girl who tried to kiss a boy in public, a boy who wasn't even her boyfriend. And the headache, oh, the mighty headache building up behind her eyes. She should have stopped at 1 drink. The whole party experience was so overrated. Neha wasn't sure she'd ever go to another party. What was that? Neha closed the tap and listened attentively. Somebody, a man, was yelling in the local language, and she couldn't understand a word. No, it was more than one man shouting. Loud, angry voices coming from just outside the bathroom door. The music stopped abruptly. The voices grew louder. What was going on? Before Neha could reach the door, a girl's scream pierced the air, sending a chill down her spine. With trembling, cold hands, Neha pushed open the door and peered through the tiny crack. The bright lights hurt her eyes. A group of 25 men, all in a high state of excitement, had barged into the pub and encircled her friends, their faces convoluted in fury. These young men were hollering at the teenagers in a language she couldn't understand while making aggressive, threatening gestures. All Neha could catch were the words drinking, smoking, girls, and loose morals. The second-year male students had formed a circle around the four girls, who huddled together in the center, terrified, while the group of belligerent men hurled abuses at them. Neha watched in horror as one of the men punched Karan on the nose. He stumbled backwards, holding his bleeding nose. It was at that precise moment that pandemonium erupted, with first flying through the air, crushing and snapping and breaking bones, a congealed mass of humanity, shoving and yelling and crying, heads and limbs sticking out at grotesque angles. Neha tore her gaze away to look for the staff of the pub, the manager, somebody who could help, but there was nobody in sight. The older partygoers seemed to have fled, leaving the teenagers at the mercy of these goons, trying to be inconspicuous. Neha hunkered low on the floor and dialed Mather-uncle's number with shaky hands. It was 11:05 p.m. Mathur-uncle picked up on the third ring. "Neha, is everything okay?" His voice was alert and tense. Clearly, the call had been unexpected. Neha relayed everything as clearly and precisely as she could. "I'm dispatching units right away. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Lock the door. Stay in the bathroom." Neha closed her eyes, teardrops running down her cheeks. Her friends were being beaten to a pulp by these fanatics, and all she'd done was make a phone call while hiding in the bathroom, like the coward that she was. The screams were piercing her eardrums, firing bolts of agony to her brain. She couldn't just sit here and wait. She had to do something. But what could she do? If she went outside, she would get beaten up too. How could she help then? Neha glanced at her sneakers, grateful she wasn't wearing heels, and turned on her phone's camera. She opened the bathroom door and pressed record. The longer Neha witnessed the dastardly act, the more she felt infuriated and emboldened. She stepped out of the bathroom in her black, knee-length dress and her red sneakers, zooming in on the face of each attacker one by one. The girls had been yanked away from the boys and were being slapped and dragged by their hair by a group of 10 men who had surrounded them. On the other side, the boys were being brutally kicked and punched by another group. Neha drifted towards the exit of the pub while continuing to record the ghastly events. When she was sure she had captured every man's face on camera, Neha put her phone away and whistled loudly. Some men turned around and spotted her. They began yelling at each other. "Catch me if you can, assholes!" With these words, Neha turned on her heels and sped towards the exit of the pub. a group of men dashed after her, breaking the circle around the girls, who pushed the rest of the men out of their way and hurried to the exit. Fear pumped through Neha's veins like adrenaline, propelling her through the parking and towards the main road, deserted at this time of the night. 15 men were chasing her, bellowing and cursing and making obscene gestures. Neha wasn't sure how long she could outrun them or where she could go. Her college was 6 kilometers away, and even if she ran all that distance, she didn't think her pursuers would stop at the gate as Neha turned left at a traffic signal. She could hear the police siren blaring, and just a moment later, the headlights of 2 police jeeps blinded her. She paused and spun around to see that the men had stopped, turned 180 degrees, and were now running away from her and the police jeeps. The fusty, windowless cubicle of the internet cafe contained a bulky monitor hooked to a CPU, at least 10 years old. As Neha plugged in the pen drive, her mobile began to ring. "Karan, where are you? Are you okay?" she said breathlessly, an ominous pause. "Neha, I'm okay. Listen carefully. Called to say goodbye," he said in a hoarse voice. "What? What happened?" "My parents have transferred me to another medical college in another city." "Why? Where are you going?" "I can't say." "Look, I'm sorry. Just stay away from this whole business, okay? It's the only way to stay safe. These people..." His voice trailed off. "Karan, I have to go now." "Goodbye, Neha." The line went dead. Neha stared at her mobile, feeling like the whole world was spinning beneath her. A news app on her mobile flashed a news report about a statement by the founding member of the right-wing organization that had attacked them 6 days ago. "These girls come from all over the country, drink, smoke, and walk around in the night, spoiling the traditional girls of the city. Why should girls go to pubs? Are they going to serve their future husbands alcohol? Should they not be learning how to make rotis, Indian bread? Pubs and bars should be for men only." We wanted to make sure that all the women in the city are home by 7 p.m. Neha gaped at her phone in mute disbelief. The computer screen prompted her to create a new account. It was the anonymous account through which she intended to upload the video and broadcast it. Neha brought her hands to the keyboard and began typing the account name. A woman of loose morals. Author's note. To read about the true events that inspired this story, search for Mangalore pub attack. Sadly, the 26 men charged with the assault walked free due to lack of evidence, despite the assault being caught on camera. The voice thief. Tom, have you ever been in that situation when you are in a serious emergency, but you can't tell anyone? Well, if you have, you might have a similar story to mine. It all happened last year. I was at McDonald's for my best friend's birthday party when it happened. I was just walking around when a man in a Ronald McDonald costume walked past me. He looked at me and said, "Come here, child." Okay, that was a bit weird, and I was now questioning if this really was a man in a suit. So I kept my distance. That made him mad. I said, "Come here, child." He sneered. By this point, I was freaking out. This man was crazy. I had to warn the others. So that was when I did the only thing I could do. I screamed. That is, I tried to scream. Ronald looked at me and grinned. "Do you want your precious voice back?" he asked. I ran, unable to warn anyone of this monster. That was all I could do. And now, 1 year on, I still am. Okay, I know you're wondering, what on earth does that have to do with anything? Well, McDonald's is about to close down, so they're throwing a goodbye party. I'm going to go. I know, my first party in a while. There is but one reason I'm going. My voice. I need my voice back. I would give anything just to hear it again. I'm getting this Ronald McDonald guy back for what he has done. Ronald, my trap has worked. For years, I have stolen the voices of children and added them to my collection. Each child has had their life ruined, and they don't have the brains to write a note to warn everyone else. But I have now become bored with my collection, and I decided, why not just capture the kids? I do have an enormous basement to put them in, and who would miss those brats anyway? My plan is simple. Capture all the kids that go to the throwaway party. Tom, the party is on. There are sales everywhere I look. Kids run around like crazy. I try not to get sidetracked by all the sales, but soon find myself in the queue. That's when I saw him, Ronald McDonald. It was time for revenge. Ronald, I can't believe how dumb this kid is. After I took his voice, he still comes to the party. Oh, well, I guess I'm in luck. So far, I have caught 30 kids. I'm going to give this one a jump scare. Tom, wait. Where on earth did that guy go? I sighed. Maybe I might see him again soon. That's when I felt a tap on my back. I turned around, and there he was, Ronald McDonald, his lips a blood-red color. "Come, child," he says. It's all a repeat of the first time we met. I forget revenge and run. And I won't stop this time. Ronald, the kid took the bait. He's running straight into my trap. Now it's time for some fun. Tom, okay. I know you're wondering how I ended up in this trap. But not even I know. I hear a creak as Ronald and McDonald enter the room. He holds my voice in one hand and a knife in the other. "Do you want your precious voice back?" he asked with a grin of pure evil. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I had no voice. That was when Ronald did something horrid. He killed my voice. He stabbed it. My voice screamed, and my throat went numb. My mission had failed. Ronald laughed, a wicked laugh. It was the type of laugh that freezes fire and melts ice. Then it occurred to me, I was going to die. Ronald, this kid has been an interesting type. The type that I like to turn into food. I seized him by the throat and carried him down a long passageway to the food processor. What food would I turn him into? A child nugget. Perfect. What a snack they will be. I'm drooling just thinking about it. Time to drop him in. Tom, I can't believe this. Pure cannibalism. Ronald let go. I fell down through the machine, landing in a pile of breadcrumbs. Before I could relocate, a huge roller ran over the top of me. I was knocked out cold. When I woke, I was in a freezer, marinating. Ronald McDonald sure has a bad recipe, I thought. It was cold. I was surprised I wasn't dead yet. Then, out of nowhere, a claw grabbed me and I still shudder to think about it. It dunked me in grease. The grease was boiling. And that's when I realized I was being deep fried. I could feel life draining from my body. I tried to climb out of the grease, but it was too slippery. I was going to be a snack for Ronald McDonald. By now, I was just a blob of food in the universe. My breathing slowed, and with 5 minutes left, I would be cooked. Every second became a struggle. I was dying. 1 minute left. You can do this, I told myself. 30 seconds left. You can do this, I said, between each gulp of air. 10 seconds. I gave up. The heat swallowed me up the way Ronald McDonald will when I come out of here. The truth was clear. I couldn't do this. Ronald, ding. The door creaked open and slammed down on the floor. Out came my child nuggets. I licked my lips. Tasty. They smell delicious. I lifted one up and took a bite. Crunchy. Soon, I have eaten them all. They should be on the menu. Oh well, I guess it's time to go upstairs. You never know who might be up there, just waiting to be taken. The sins that betray us. It was a warm, Parisian evening, and fog rose from the Seine. It mingled with the smog of industry and clouded the gas street lights that dimly lit cobblestone streets. Beside the Seine, in the 4th arrondissement, was La Force prison, within which was the man Eugène Vidocq, whose wrists were shackled to the dungeon wall by cold steel chains, and ankles bound by manacles. Eugène had black, curly hair and long, thick sideburns that taunted the corners of his mouth. He wore rags. His nose was still bruised from the scuffle. To detain him, when 5 men were needed to pin him down and capture him. "Monsieur," he said, speaking to Julien de Veria, the Parisian chief of police. "I became a criminal the night my father had me arrested as a boy. When those gendarmes had turned up and taken him away to a cell that night, he had felt betrayed, devastated, and humiliated by his father. Above all, he had felt angry, and that anger had stayed with him all his life, a chip on his shoulder that had been ever present in his interactions and informed his life choices." Julien sat in the opposite corner of the dungeon on a wooden stool. His top hat lay in his lap, and his walking cane leant against the wall. He remained as still as a gargoyle. "Your trial for treason commences at first light, and you wish to reminisce about your father. Do not waste my time." The flame of torches lining the walls flickered. A rat scurried between iron bars and retreated into the shadows. "I have watched the guillotine sever the head of my dear friend César Herbeau. This cannot be my fate." He shook his head. The surprised look upon César's face as his head fell to the ground was forever etched in his memory. He could not shake it, could not recall how César used to smile, or the jovial times they had shared in local brothels. "You have deserted from the army. You have stolen, you have forged, and you have destroyed marriages. Why would I care about your fate?" Orange from the flickering flames glinted in Julien's eyes. A distant scream echoed around the chamber. It briefly registered to Eugène like the sound of a new prisoner being subdued into his iron attire. "Monsieur, I crave a life no longer on the run," said Eugène, thinking of his recent arrest. His estranged wife, who left him for a soldier, had found him back in Paris and reported him to the gendarmerie. He could never be free while the sins of his past stalked his being. "Such is the fate of a criminal. Why would I care about what you crave? You are wasting my time," Julien said, snatching up his cane and smashing it against the stone wall. He stood. "Monsieur, s'il vous plaît, let me tell you what I can do for you, so as not to waste any more of your time." Julien pushed out the backs of his jacket and sat carefully on his stool. "Proceed. Thieves adore me. Hardened wretches esteem me. I drink and mingle in their circles. I have their trust. I know their hearts. I will gather their secrets and share them with you. We have informants already. Why would I need you, monsieur? I will be the best of them all. Of your informants, do any have as much esteem amongst the other criminals? Of your informants, have any been as cunning as me to escape prison so many times, even dressed as a nun to avoid detection? Sir, I will go to lengths those simpletons could not even imagine imagining. I will be your best informant, monsieur. I know this without a doubt, and I think you do too. I can't trust you, Monsieur. When my late father had me arrested as a boy, my fate was sealed. In my mind, I became a criminal. It has taken my whole life to realize he did that out of love. I can be different. I can be of use to society. I can be the man my father knew I could be. I don't know if you can, Monsieur. I've seen the end. I've seen my friend's head freed from his body by guillotine. I know that God's grace has all but kept me alive. I will be as devious as I was in crime, but use those skills to catch the criminals and make Paris safer. He shook his head. Just as the rats carry the plague, I fear you spread a vile truth. Monsieur, s'il vous plaît, just give me one last chance. Please. Julian was silent. We will hold off your trial in the morning. But know this, you are one mistake from execution. I want intelligence, actionable intelligence, or you'll be seeing your father sooner than you had imagined. He stood, gathered his cane, placed his top hat on his head, and waved to a guard outside the cell to let him out. Eugene put his head back on the stone wall and blinked away a tear. He would be tireless. He would be disciplined. He would use the tricks and the cons and the black arts he had learned. It was clear that Julian barely believed what was said, but that was fine, because he knew what was there in his heart. And it was true, and with time, he would prove it. He felt the anger that had fueled his heart for so long start to thaw. The miserable wretch that was his soul felt a flicker of hope. His father had loved him and had wanted him to be the best he could be, no matter how tragically he had tried to teach that lesson. And now he understood that it was only ever a lesson. He could become the man his father knew he could be.